Hi, it's Sandy Holterhaus, your Rec Center Dietitian, and this is week 4 of National Nutrition Month, our fourth Monday. And today we're going to be discussing healthy fats. So, just to go ahead and get started here, what are the functions of fat? Well, fat is an energy source. It's usually the source of energy we go to after we have burned up our carbohydrate sources of glucose and glycogen. Our brain is 60% fat. Fat can help, the healthier fats like the omega 3s, reduce inflammation. It has a function in forming bile salts, carries those fat soluble vitamins. So it is really great to have a little source of fat when you're eating your greens or other types of food that carry those vitamins A, vitamin D, vitamin E, and vitamin K. Functions in blood clotting, vitamin D production. It gives us that little padding and cushion. It's also a component of our cell membranes, helps with wound healing. The adipocytes in the skin help draw the healing components to those areas, and also functions, cholesterol functions in as a precursor for our hormones. So, how much fat do we need? And I kind of divided this into three types of diet, depending on, what you're looking for, what your goals are. So, there's a standard low-fat diet, and this would be 10 to 30% of your calories as fat. And from the Heart Association, saturated fat you would want at 7%. In particular, if you are at risk for heart disease or have high cholesterol or high blood pressure, or if you're healthy and you don't have any issues, you can eat up to about 10% of those calories as saturated fat. There is a diet, the Dr. Dean Ornish diet, that has been shown to actually help reverse heart disease. So it's a very low fat diet. It's about 10% calories as fat and very few calories as saturated fat. So that would be for those people that are really trying to cut down on fat, maybe want to eat a little bit more carb, maybe for long distance athletes or runners that want to be light on their feet as well. Then the next diet I wanted to discuss would be the Mediterranean. And I call this a moderate fat diet, although it is high in monounsaturated fats. When they've studied the diet, the saturated fat content of the Mediterranean diet is usually about 5%. So very low saturated fat. But it is the fat content is a higher portion of the calories, generally about 30 to 45%. Um, the Mediterranean diet has been well studied, and we do know that people that eat this type of diet actually have a lower incident of heart disease and cardiovascular risk. So, a great diet to go ahead and incorporate, especially if you've kind of got to that place where you want to maintain a healthy diet, or you can calorie restrict the Mediterranean diet as well and lose weight with it. So, very healthy diet overall, probably one of the healthiest ones out there. Now, another very popular diet is the keto diet, and that's a very high fat diet. Um, the drawbacks to this would be it is hard to maintain because you're having so few carbs in the diet. And most people, no matter what your ethnicity is, your diet is probably built around carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are cheaper food sources, the grains in particular. So a lot of us are used to eating carb. So, in order to make keto work, you would need to have about 70 to 90% of your diet as fat. And again, you do want to limit that saturated fat. And since you're eating so much fat, a 7% as saturated would be a good high number of calories as fat. So, that is one of the concerns with the diet. But if you can eat mostly healthy fats, you can probably make this diet work, and it may help with weight loss. We do know there's plenty of studies that show that it helps with seizures. It could also help with diseases of hyperinsulinemia. So if you produce, in response to the carb that you take in, you overproduce insulin, which stores fat, such as patients with PCOS, or as you develop type 2 diabetes as well, this can be the case. So that going on this higher fat diet could help with those diseases. It also may reduce some risks of certain types of cancer, and it may be protective to brain health. So there are some advantages, again, to doing it. Um, when you go on to keto, your body produces what we call ketone bodies. And it can be of concern if you're not in good health. You can have issues with, liver, that type of thing. So you would want to be monitored by a doctor if you are not in good health and you want to try keto. Otherwise, for clients that are in good health, they feel like this can be their lifestyle. I'm agreeable to letting people try this and just see how they do. Um, but just know also, if you do go on it for a while and lose a lot of weight, but then go back to eating more carb, you'll likely gain that weight all back. So let's talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly. And so the good fats are going to be our monounsaturated fats. And I'll show some pictures on the next couple of slides of, what these foods are that contain the monounsaturated fats. But we know that eating a diet that has more monounsaturated fat in it can actually help lower that lousy cholesterol, the LDL, and your triglycerides. Another type of good fat is our polyunsaturated omega-3s. And this would be those fatty fish and some of the fatty seeds, seed oils, seeds that contain those, as well as some nuts. And we know that that can help to lower that lousy cholesterol, the LDL, and also increase or decrease inflammation in the body. Those omega-3s can do that. So moving on from good to bad, so the saturated fat, we do know that it raises the LDL or lousy cholesterol. There's a lot of controversy about saturated fat right now, but we do know that even the plant varieties, so the coconut oil, the palm kernel oil, that those will also raise the LDL in your body. So you do want to monitor that, because a higher LDL does put you at risk for diseases of the heart. Moving on to the ugly. So the ugly is the trans fats, and these are mostly man-made. So what we've done is we've taken an oil that is liquid at room temperature, and we've added hydrogen to it to actually turn it into a shelf-stable or an oil that is now in a solid form. And again, we did that, produce this process so that we could actually allow foods to be processed and live longer on our shelves. What we do know about trans fats are that they raise our lousy cholesterol, the LDL, and they also lower our good cholesterol, the HDL. So double whammy from trans fats. So monounsaturated, I think the big names that come to mind are going to be your olives, your olive oil, your avocado oil as well. Some nuts and seeds also contain monounsaturated fat. And again, these are going to help to lower the LDL and your triglycerides. So getting some of those oils into your diet, including maybe some avocado toast, that type of thing, can actually help to lower that LDL and that triglyceride level. Moving on to polyunsaturated. So I'm speaking mainly here of the omega-3s. That's what you want to get more of in your diet. So we're looking at the fatty fish. We're looking at the EPA and the DHA, those acids. Walnuts contain quite a bit of polyunsaturated omega-3s, probably one of the nuts that's higher in those. And also those oil seeds, so the hemp and the flax seeds. Those are going to be oh, and chia seeds. Those are going to be helpful as well with getting omega-3s into your body. And moving on, we have our saturated fats. So again, saturated fats are mainly in our animal products. They do raise the LDL, the lousy cholesterol, but they are also contained in some plant products. So our coconut oil, our palm kernel oil. I admit, and I don't know for sure yet, there may be some health benefits to having the plant-based oils over the animal-based oils, but we do know that they all raise the LDL, and that is something that you do want to keep an eye on when you're watching your numbers. A lot of those cold cuts and really processed meats are probably going to be more unhealthy for you. If you do prefer and want to pay the little bit extra for the grass-fed meats, those are going to have a little bit better profile, a little less saturated fat, and a little more of your omega-3 fats in them. So that's kind of the benefit of going with that grass-fed meat. And then we have the trans fat foods, or the ugly foods. And these again are mostly the man-made product where we have hydrogenated the healthier oil and turned it into a solid, and then we've got it into our food supply. So one thing you want to know about this is if you're reading the package, you want to look in the ingredients for trans fat. It is labeled at the top, but it doesn't have to actually tell you if there's trans fat unless there's over 0.5 milligrams of trans fat in the food. So it could have come in under that per serving, or they might make the serving size so small that it comes in under that and they'll say 0 trans fats. But you really have to look at the ingredient label and look for partially hydrogenated oil, and that will tell you if there's trans fat in that food. And then just know that if you do eat several servings of that food per day, maybe you take a box of crackers that has trans fat in it and you eat the whole box, you're going to end up with more trans fat than what they want you to get in a day, which is basically 0 is the amount of trans fat that we want you to take in. So that's all I have for you on fats. Please join me again next week. I'm going to talk about food synergy, and that will be the last talk here for National Nutrition Month. And I will talk with you again soon.